The Zionists, they are shaken. The Zionists, they are shaken. Recently, Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, he condemned Iranian forces. Believe it or not, he did condemn them and saying, quote, enemy psychological warfare aimed at forcing the country to reconsider retaliation against Israel in the wake of the killing of the Hamas leader, political leader in Tehran. Then he said, speaking on Wednesday, Khamenei underscored that any non-tactical retreat, be it military, political, or economic, invites quote-unquote divine wrath as per the Holy Quran. This statement is shaking Zionists so much so that the Israeli army radio, they came out in response to what Khamenei said, and they basically said that any direct aggression against Israel would trigger a war between Iran and Israel. And now listen to this, important, and they have asked US and EU to intervene and stop Iran from attacking Israel. Now, what is happening at the moment is something absolutely dangerous. We have seen Iran is not attacking Israel yet. And the reason for that, there are a lot of, one of them, main reasons of them, is that right now Iran is just taking its time so that it can force US to come up with a ceasefire deal with Israel and stop this genocide in Gaza. And we have already heard from Joe Biden, who said that an Iranian retaliation can be delayed or stopped if a ceasefire is reached for Gaza genocide. And this is what is coming from Joe Biden. Obviously, he did not mention the genocide. This rhetoric from Khamenei is very, very rare. He did not make any comment like this in the past. If you take a look at what happened during the month of April when they were retaliating against Israel, he was not using such harsh words against his own army. This is the first time Khamenei is coming out criticizing his own army for taking time. And he said, if you do not attack, if you do not retaliate, then God is going to be punishing you. So this is a sentiment that is being shared by many Muslim population around the world, where we are seeing an increasing demand for these people, the Muslim, especially from Arabs and even non-Muslims. They want a retaliation. They want Israel to be struck by Iran. Now, I want to actually play a video here and share with you some very, very important points from Douglas McGregor. Take a listen.
Tell me, Colonel, about Russian technical support for Iran, anticipating a conflagration between Iran and Israel.
Well, as you pointed out earlier, I think you probably even showed part of the Lavrov's, the foreign minister's comments that he made in Tehran and back in Moscow regarding the readiness of Russia to cooperate with Iran. And they signed a treaty with Iran. You could call it a treaty. It's an agreement for military cooperation assistance as well as economic development, because they want to develop this alternative route to the through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal that then runs the length of Iran up through Azerbaijan and then into Russia all the way to St. Petersburg. So I think that was the beginning of even more serious military cooperation. What you're seeing now is really the result of those agreements. We've seen Iskander missiles, ballistic missiles that have been used in Ukraine, as well as I would assume some Kashan cruise missiles, but I haven't seen it. They probably have something like it. But more important, electronic warfare capabilities that the Russians have rarely allowed anybody outside of Russia to utilize and employ, and they're very substantial. We've had to deal with them from time to time in Syria. We know that they're very capable and can have an enormous impact on combat in the air as well as on the ground. And now finally, we're seeing the S-400 system show up. The S-400 is a very good air and missile defense system. It's
Absolutely.
advertised by the Russians, obviously, as the best in the world. But then again, we advertise the world. We tend to dismiss a lot of what the Russians say about their equipment. And that's a mistake, because as we've seen in Ukraine, Russian equipment has performed above expectation. much of our equipment has performed below expectation. So I think it would be a mistake to dismiss this S-400 system. They can acquire a target at least 250 miles and maybe more. We don't know.
Wow.
Now, they can't shoot it down at that range, but they can acquire it and track it. They normally, you want the enemy's aircraft to come in closer before you shoot it down. Now, that works to our advantage to some extent because we can launch JASSM and other kinds of cruise missiles with different kinds of warheads from a distance, from B-2s and B-52s, even from our fighter aircraft. So
basically here, the Colonel McGregor, he is highlighting the importance of Russia in this retaliation of Iran against Israel. This is why it is taking so long, because Iran wants to make sure that Russia will back them up if in case US gets involved in defending Israel and attacking Iran in the process. Once those deliberations are over, once those calculations are over, then Iran will definitely take the next step. Now, is this possible that Russia will actually encourage Tehran not to go and retaliate against Israel this time and get a promise from Israel that they will not assassinate or invade or violate Iranian territories? I think that is also possible, because if Iran and Israel, they get into this war right now with the pact they have with Russia and how close US and Israel they are, it would mean that there is going to be a war if Iran attacks Israel and Israel retaliates. But guys, right now Israel is absolutely shaken. They're not in any position to go to a war with Iran, because that would mean the end of them. Khamenei's recent statement urging his own military to take action as soon as possible also shows how urgent this matter is and how much Iran wants to go against Israel. The only problem here, what I understand, is that they are not reaching with Russia any agreement confirming how to what extent Russia will help Iran if Iran does get struck by Israel in retaliation to Iran's retaliatory strike. This is the only thing that is holding it all back. But once this strikes takes place and Israel goes against Iran, all hell will break loose, and we might see the annihilation of not just the state of Israel and also Iran, but a World War III. And this is what Russia and US, they're trying so desperately to avoid. They do not want it to be on them, because two lunatic, or actually one lunatic Zionist, they decided to attack Iran, another country, unlawfully by assassinating a leader in their own country in Tehran. I want to know, guys, your opinion. What do you think will happen and why it is taking so long time? Some comments here. Sajid, Goku, thank you guys for your comments. I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.